So now we're going to talk about the last type of iteration. We've been talking about iterations being something that repeats, right? It's a repetition. And so, in order for a computer program to repeat part of its computer program itself, then we need to use what's called a loop. We have talked about repeat loops and we have talked about for loops. And now we're going to talk about a while loop. Now, a while loop is useful when you want your program to loop until a certain event happens or a different condition is met. So long as something is happening, the program is going to run. Or until we tell it differently, okay, by doing something like an input. So maybe pressing the A button. Then that computer program is going to keep moving and keep going until we tell it not to. So for example, while it is raining outside, I will open my umbrella. On the flip side of that, while it is not raining, I will wear my sunglasses. So the while it is raining, like as long as it's still raining, as long as that condition is met, we're going to keep our umbrella open. In the case of the sunglasses, while it is not raining, so as long as the rain is not falling, we're going to wear our sunglasses. So we're going to use the while loop to create a program that plays an alarm when the microbit is shaken and turn off when the A button is pressed. So for our algorithm, what we want to look at is there's two parts to this. The first one is play a tone or two when the microbit is shaken. Okay, so that's part one of our program that we need to work on. Part two is turn off the tones when the A button is pressed. So there's two parts to this program that we need to work on. So the pseudocode for this, we want to turn the tones on and then we want to turn the tones off. So those are what we want to be our outputs. For this to happen, we want to either shake our microbit to turn the tones on, or we want to press A to turn the tones off. So our pseudocode, on shake, play two tones. While the A button is not pressed, we want those two tones to keep playing. So this is where that loop comes in, that repetition, that iteration comes in. While the A button is not being pressed, we're going to keep playing those two tones over and over and over again. When the A button is pressed, then we're going to stop the playing. So now we need to translate that into actual code. So let's come into our make code and make sure you sign in up here in the top. Give everything permission. Keep going. There we go. So we're going to create a new project and we can call it while loop. That's probably a nice thing to call it. That's pretty descriptive of what we're doing. So we're going to create that. And if we go back to our pseudocode, if we look at what it is that we needed to program, the first thing that we were going to do was on shake. So we want, oops, let's get rid of that, to start our program when we shake the microbit. And when we shake the microbit, we want to play two different tones. So we're going to come over here into music. We're going to play a middle C. And then let's just say a high C. There we go. So when we shake our microbit now, we have a very, very simple, not what we want code, but when we come over and we shake it, we can hear that. That sounds like an alarm to me. And so what we're going to do is now we need to make it so that our microbit keeps repeating, right? We have our while loop now. So we're going to come over here into loops, and we're going to bring out our while loop. Let's put all of this in here. Now this is where some things are going to get kind of a little bit weird because computers think in a little bit different order than we do. So if we look at this program, what we have is on shake while false, right? While something is not happening, we're going to play the tones middle C and high C. And if we come over here, nothing happens, right? Because we have a false. We have it basically turned off. So what is the condition that we want in order for this to keep going? Right? Now to stop it, we want to press the A button. But to keep it going, we want to not press the A button. So while we are not pressing the A button, so here's where it gets kind of interesting. Logic is something that doesn't always seem very logical, but there are things called gates in computer programming. And there's an AND gate, an OR gate, and a NOT gate. Those are the three basic ones. It gets a little more complicated than that, but an AND gate, if two things are both true, then something will happen. On an OR gate, if either one of them are true, so say we want AND as A and B, if we press A and B, the OR is A or B. The NOT is if we don't, right? So as long as we are not pressing the A button, we want these two tones to keep playing and repeating over and over. So over here in input, so pressing the A button is an input. Now we've been using these blocks quite a bit, these press A, on button A pressed, and the on shake blocks. We've been using those a lot. But there's also like a little insert block. So we're going to come down here to this button A is pressed. So when we shake our microbit, while the A button is not pressed, middle C and high C are going to repeat themselves. So let's see if this works. So we're going to come over here and press shake. And you can see that those are repeating over and over and over. Now, hopefully, when we press this A button, it stops. So while the A button is not pressed, this repetition will continue to go. But as soon as we come over and press that A button, then it stops. That's when we break the loop and we exit it and go to the next thing in our program.